Hello my fellow book addicts, Megan here, and time for another book review. Today I'm going to be talking about Splintered by A.G. Howard. And this is the first book in the Splintered series. So I'm really not sure what to call this. It's not exactly a retelling, but at the same time it's the only term I can think of that semi-fits. Our main character's name is Alyssa, and she is descended from Alice, as in Alice in Wonderland. And unfortunately, since Alice supposedly returned from Wonderland, the women in her family tend to be a little crazy. They hear flowers and bugs talk, and just insanity is extremely common in her family. Her grandmother died after giving birth to her mother by jumping out a window claiming that she has wings and can fly. Needless to say, that didn't really end well, and currently Alyssa's mother, Allison, is locked up in an asylum because of her own delusions. Now, unfortunately, Alyssa's connection to Lewis Carroll's Alice is quite well known among her age group in her town, and she gets kind of teased a lot. And just focusing on Alyssa a bit, I really like her. I like how she's kind of edgy and alternative in her style, which I like to see. I personally like that kind of style, aesthetically. And I kind of like being able to read about kind of an edgier girl, you know? And I find her hobby kind of interesting. She catches bugs, kills them, and uses them in mosaics. A very morbid hobby, but one I found really fascinating. Just this whole book as a whole, I like the dark themes it had in it. Like, I did not know I wanted to read something dark until I really started reading this. I was instantly hooked. And I quickly flew through this. I think I read it in like the span of a day. So needless to say, I really enjoyed it. Like, I loved Alyssa. I really like Jeb, who is one of her best friends, one of her neighbors, and a crush of hers. They both kind of had a messed up past. Their families aren't, fully together. And just, I like the relationship between them. So basically, Alyssa has been hearing the sounds of bugs and flowers since she first started going through puberty. And she's been hiding the fact that she can hear them because she doesn't want to end up like her mother, Allison, locked up. But one day she finds out that her mother isn't as crazy as she thought. Her mother is actually completely sane, which throws Alyssa for a complete loop. Like, she doesn't know how to feel about that. Her mother's been locked up since she was a little girl. And to find out all these years later that she's not insane, the fact that she could have had her mother in her life, but she didn't, because of this, it was a huge blow. And she wants to save her mother, because she doesn't deserve to be locked up if she is completely and utterly sane. Like, yeah, she can hear voices, but those voices are actually there. Like, the bugs and the flowers are actually talking to them. So basically, Alyssa decides she wants to kind of break this curse that's on the women of her family. And, get her mother back home. But to do that, she has to go back down the rabbit hole that Alice went down years ago. And she's in for quite a little adventure. A lot of stuff goes on. There are a lot of twists and turns, which for some of the twists and turns that happen in this book, I had to actually put the book down and let things sink in. And I think there's only one, possibly two, books that have done that to me in recent memory, and one of them is Queen of Shadows by Sarah J. Maas. And I'm pretty sure there was a second one, but I can't think of it off the top of my head. And you know what? I like that. I really like being kept on my toes. I love constantly guessing at what's going to happen next, and boy did this book give that to me. All in all, I really highly recommend this book. Like, if you're in the mood for something Alice in Wonderland themed, I suggest giving this book a look into. And I really hope the second book holds up to the awesomeness of this one, because my expectations are kind of high right now. So yeah, I'm going to go into a more spoilery bit now, so if you have not read Splintered and you don't want to be spoiled, I suggest you click away now and come back after you read the book. So, oh my god, where do I begin? Morpheus. I kept flip-flopping between how I felt about him, whether I loved him or I hated him. And by that, I mean, loved him like, oh my god, you're kinda awesome, you are amazing, you are an awesome guy, and then flip-flopping to, you are a jerk, why are you doing this, you are a jerk. And I kept flip-flopping between that mindset, which I'm surprised I liked. His character really kept me on my toes, which is nice, you know, he wasn't a character I was able to predict thoroughly. And I also like how we meet some familiar characters from the Alice in Wonderland story, which I have not read. Gonna state that now. I only know based on what I've seen in movies, what I've read in retellings, and little things like that. And, you know, from what people tell me. But even though I haven't read the original story, there are still lots of characters I recognize, and I did like how they weren't, like, copies of the original source material. They kind of had their own little twist to them, appearance-wise, personality-wise, name-wise. And I really enjoyed that. You know, something familiar, or semi-familiar, but different at the same time. And Jeb and Alyssa's blooming relationship throughout this whole adventure in Wonderland was amazing, and it kind of killed me inside when Alyssa wished that he didn't come down the rabbit hole with her. Just, all that bonding just gone. But I was so glad when they did end up back together at the end. I was worried about that, and that would have really sucked for Alyssa, especially after everything she went through in Wonderland. You know, she deserves that one small bit of happiness. I really enjoyed how Alyssa kind of had to go through and correct everything Alice did in her adventure in Wonderland. The idea of her having to right these wrongs was a very clever one, and they were really well done. And I wish I could say Morpheus's trickery was a surprise to me, but it wasn't. Just when he made that vow to Alyssa, saying, you know, he wants to see her return to her rightful home and yada yada yada. Just the wording on that instantly raised some alarms to me. I don't know if I've just been reading too many books about the Fae and, you know, how they can't lie and all that. I've learned to pay really close attention to wording with that kind of stuff, because loopholes. Though I will say I did not expect her to be the descendant of the Red Queen instead of Alice. At first I thought Morpheus was having her go through all these trials to kind of turn her into a Netherling. Since, you know, it seems she's changing more and more and becoming a little less human the longer she's in Wonderland. You know, I thought that was a pretty solid, you know, theory. I didn't expect that she was already part Netherling, that she is the descendant of the Red Queen instead of Alice. So it's not insanity that's plaguing the women in her family, it's the Netherling traits in their family. So I kind of like that twist, I really did. And I was worried when we were having that little internal struggle between Alyssa and the Red Queen. Just, that's a tough battle. You're not physically fighting someone, you're fighting someone who is inside you. Which is a really creepy thought, but I did like how it was described in the book. I was on edge while reading that. And I did really like how Morpheus kinda started to redeem himself at the end. If I was Alyssa, I still wouldn't forgive him for all the crap he's done. Cause he's been messing with her family for quite a bit. And he did string her along on this quest, you know, pulling the strings, making her do what he wanted her to do, without telling her the truth. You know, if I was her, I would not forgive him for that. At least not as easily as she seemed to have. I am interested to see how things kind of play out from here. Alyssa's back in our world. She's kind of leaving her duties as queen on the back burner for now, because she has a life she wants to live. To which I say, good for her. Then, you know, she kind of has to save her mom, get her out of the asylum, prevent her from dealing with the shock therapy, all that good stuff. It was extremely nice seeing that, yes, Alyssa's mom, Allison, is going to be able to be released from the asylum and go home. Because they managed to prove that she is in fact completely sane. And they managed to swing things to make it seem like the drugs they were pumping her full of or just kind of messing with her head. So there's that nice little loose end that's tied up. So man, I am extremely excited to see kind of how things play out, how Alyssa and Allison's relationship is going to be now that Allison is back home, and they both know that they are actually hearing the voices of the bugs and the flowers and all that. So, interested to see how that is. See if Allison's gonna get super protective over Alyssa because of the whole Wonderland thing. And Jeb and Alyssa's relationship. How it's gonna go from there. Despite the fact that Jeb remembers nothing of Wonderland, he and Alyssa do end up together. He dumps his girlfriend, and he does go with Alyssa. So, in his mind, the relationship is just starting, but to Alyssa, it's just kind of restarting. I'm pretty sure he's gonna get his memories back, because I believe there's 2 more books in this series. So, it'd be surprising if he went all that time without having his memories given back somehow. So, all in all, I don't think there's anything I didn't like about this book. I found it severely entertaining. The characters I loved. I loved how I was really kept on my toes, like I said before. Probably a few times at this point. And just, all in all, it's a really good book. And I really hope book 2 holds up to the expectations I have. So yeah, that's all I really have to say. So that is it for this book review, and I hope to see you guys next time. Keep on reading, my fellow book addicts. Keep on reading.